Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into another episode of the Nat Bros podcast. This week we are talking about week number 4 of the Chattown Fantasy League, and we got our commissioner with us. That's who we've got with us. We've got a special guest. So, Scott, you can go ahead and let the people know. We don't necessarily do last names here. Just kind of keep anonymity, but you can let the people know, like, kind of what. Who your team is and why you like fantasy and all that jazz, like, in a short amount of time. So tell them who you are and stuff like that.
All right. My name is Scott, as Nick said. And, I manage Scott's Tots. That came from The Office. If you didn't know, there is an episode called Scott's Tots. So you can go watch it if you didn't know that. My team is doing awful this year, 0-4, and trying to just get some footing here. I've been playing fantasy football for, probably middle school. So you're looking at a good 20 years. But love it and really look forward to it. So appreciate y'all having me on today.
Of course, man. Of course. It's good to have you. Yeah. And just to reiterate, Scott is at the bottom of the league, even though last year he was the champion of the league. So it just, not to rub it in or anything like that, but we'll have some conversations about that, about what can be turned around and how it can be turned around. So Scott, why don't you lead us out and talk about the rundown of the matchups for this week?
Yeah, so let's take a look at what happened this week. First, one of the lowest scoring outputs that we've ever had in the league was at the top. The Water Boys beat Nick back in the hot seat, 93.54 to 43.76. That is an ouch right there. Secondly, let's see here. Heartbeat, first in the league, the only undefeated team left, beat Scott's Tots. That is me, 157.56 to 105.2. That was the highest score in the league for the week. Next, Shroot Farms got their first victory of the season. They beat Better Than Scott, 102 to 88.38. Then Lamarvel Universe beat Biggest Loser, 107.36 to 91.16. London Silly Nannies beat the Leprechauns, 106.82 to 102.38. That was a pretty close matchup there. And lastly, Andrew, here with us on the podcast, he got the victory. Don't Take the Bait Man, 118.56, and he beat Let's Ride, 88.88 was his score.
So before we move on too far, let's just say I don't know if 43.76 is the lowest the league has ever seen.
But yeah, I did some research.
Is it the lowest?
So if you want to go there, so we'll go there real quick. So it is not the lowest, but you are in pretty good company being that low. So earlier today, I actually did go back and I looked through all 6 and whatever years of the league, and the lowest was, so let me ask you this first. Who do you think the lowest was ever? Well, and I'll give you a hint. They're not in the league anymore. That's a hint that I'll give you.
So let's go with this. That might be Patrick then.
Okay. He did have some clunkers back in the day, but he is not the lowest one. I'll give you another hint. It's from the very first year that we ever did the league, back in 2016. There is someone that was in the league, and they were only in the league for that 1 year, and then they backed out, and they had the lowest score that year that we have ever seen.
I have no idea. I don't remember who that would be.
Okay. So it was one of your friends, actually, that you invited to the league, and it was the only female we've ever had in the league. You remember? I think her team name was Judge's Court, and I can't remember her name. It was something like Courtney or Stephanie or...
Oh, that's right. Courtney. Yeah. Oh, gosh.
Remember her?
That's right. I totally forgot that. I forgot that she was even in this league. Man.
Yeah.
Golly.
So in week 8 of 2016, she scored 11.7. That is the lowest that we have ever had in the league. So I went through all of the other years, and Nick, you're actually in pretty pretty solid company. We had a 35.58 that year too. We've had a few that are in the 40s, but I will say this. Most of the time when people are that low, like in the 40s, it's because they didn't pay attention. They kept people on bye weeks in their lineup. Players maybe were injured. So as far as people that actually paid attention and tried to put an active roster in, you are one of the lowest.
Yeah. That's always good to know. It's always good to know. Andrew, why don't you give us the current standings?
Well, heartbeat, like Scott said, 4-0-0. Let's see, 509 points total. Good Lord. Man. And he hadn't even spent any of his waiver budget, hardly $9. The Marvel Universe, 3-1. Are you saying something? Hello? Oh, thought I heard some feedback. The Marvel Universe, 3-1. Followed by me, Don't Take the Bateman, 3-1. Pulled out that win. London Silly Nannies, 3-1. So we're all basically 3-1, but points are 494 for second place, 408 third place, 390 for fourth place. Let's see. Then we got 4 more teams are 2-2. The Leprechauns, followed by Back in the Hot Seat. Let's Ride comes in 7th, and then the Water Boys is 8th. Funny story is, like, me and you, Nick, have given the Water Boys both wins back to back.
Really, man?
Yes, I lost him last week, and you lost him this week. So it's like, man, that sucks. Or I think it was
maybe it's only
week,
the Water Boys. Maybe that's the only reason why we do so poorly. It's just anytime we play against them.
Hopefully. Let's see. 9th place, Better Than Scott. 10th place, Biggest Loser. 11th, Shroot Farms. 12th, 0-4, Scott's Tots. Man.
Carrying up the caboose.
Yeah, it happens.
And the thing is like, so looking at that, like, if, like, Better Than Scott has actually gotten, like, really good points. It's just that the points against him has just been just devastating.
Yeah, I mean, he's not the lowest. Let's see how many are lower than him. One. Well,
there's a lot that are lower than him. Like, if he won one more, then he would be actually in 5th place right now. Like, that's where he would be. But so it's not. It's sometimes you just go against a buzzsaw, and it's not that his team.
Are you looking at points for or points against?
I'm looking at both. I'm looking at points for because that's how many points he's got. But the points against have just been higher.
Okay. If he's won one, he'd been in 11th place.
No. What I mean, if he won one more, he would have been in 5th place. If he were 2-2 versus 1-3.
Scott's Tots?
Better Than Scott.
Oh,
Better Than Scott.
What are you talking about?
Nope, Scott's Tots. Yeah, Scott's Tots would be. I mean, let's be honest. The Water Boys is barely eking it out. Like
winning's winning.
Well, that's true.
If I think I'm 11th in points. Is that right? So, like, if I had a win, if I was 1-3, I would be ahead of Shroot Farms.
Right.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
So needless to say, you need some help. But we'll get to that.
No doubt.
No doubt. Biggest blowout. We'll talk about point differential here. Biggest blowout. Heartbeat again seems to just be on a tear. He had 157.56 points over Scott's Tots at 105.2. I literally thought with my low one, I thought I would have the biggest blowout, but Scott, I appreciate you taking the fall. There was a difference of 52.36 points. The closest win difference this week is, again, London Silly Nannies, who is just barely eking out wins, but is winning nevertheless. So he had 106.82 versus the Leprechauns at 102.38. And so the difference of 4.44 points.
You know what's crazy about London Silly Nannies? I just noticed he's 3-1, but he has been outscored by about 70 points. That's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like, yeah. He's got about 70 points difference in between them, but it's just that's where that one. And if I'm not mistaken,
that's
that
the
was
Marvel Universe. Yeah,
that was because he got blasted by Marvel. like big time. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was. So going back to this average difference of points. So again, in week 1, it was 19.36. In week 2, 35.9. Week 3, 19.32. And then this week, 27.68. So it does kind of seem like we're up and down. So, gentlemen, prepare week 5 for just a 20-point average difference. So probably just everybody comes back to normal. Hopefully nobody goes back to terrible like I did. All right. Useful points left on the bench. So let me get to this really quick. So useful points back on the bench. I'll start it out. Back in the hot seat, yours truly. I left 14.7 points on the bench. What I should have done is I should have started Alan Lazard over Gabe Davis. Again, this is another time where Gabe Davis failed to produce and Alan Lazard actually did produce. And I should have started Craig Reynolds over Jonathan Taylor. Now, honestly, there's Craig Reynolds is the Detroit running back behind Jamal Williams. So there's no way. Let's just be honest. There's no way I would have done that. But Lazard over Davis, for some reason, I don't know what's going on in Buffalo. Like, this is a really, like, just mind-boggling thing. It's like they're giving the ball to Isaiah McKenzie. Obviously, Stephon Diggs is doing great things. Dawson Knox is even decent, but it's just like there's nothing going to Gabe Davis, like very little, if anything, and I'm kind of concerned about it. I don't know if Gabe Davis comes out next week. I don't know who Buffalo plays, but if Gabe Davis comes out and he's not a part of the plan as much as he should be, I'm looking to either get rid of him, probably just like trading him and like putting him into a package and sending him away.
I got Isaiah McKenzie if you want him.
Maybe. The Water Boys actually, if I'm not mistaken, the Water Boys, this is the second time in the league this season where the Water Boys has actually put in the perfect lineup. So he put in the optimal lineup. So nicely done.
He's cheating.
He needs to play the lottery.
Yeah. But even if I had put in the right amount of the correct guys, there's no way I would have been able to beat Water Boys. So he did a great job. He would have trounced me regardless. All right, Scott, take it away.
All right, for the next matchup, I'm going to do myself and Heartbeat. I left 15.72 points on the bench. I should have started Chase Edmonds over Greg Dortch, and that was my mistake there because Rondale Moore actually came back in Arizona and played this week, and that's kind of Dortch was kind of filling in for him while he was out, and that's why Dortch was getting so many targets and having good games, and I did not even realize that Rondale Moore had come back, and I just slid Dortch right into my lineup. And that ended up being one target, and he caught his one target, but he, got me like less than 5 points or something. Then I should have started Jared Goff over Tom Brady. That would have gotten me more points, and that's kind of a seesaw back and forth right now. Between those two guys, I'm kind of seesawing on who I should go with there. Heartbeat left 24.2 points on the bench. He should have started Corey Davis over Amari Cooper, and that would have gotten him some more points. He also should have started J.K. Dobbins over Khalil Herbert, but you would have never known that coming into the week because Khalil Herbert was by far the better start there. So it's just a, hindsight's 2020, right? So J.K. Dobbins, you didn't ever know that he blew up.
I don't fault Heartbeat for benching Dobbins to begin with, just because like you're not 100% sure if JK is like fully back, but it seems like he is. And so from here on out, I'm just gonna say this: I don't see how Heartbeat, unless he receives like a major injury somewhere along the way, like I don't see like he's got some weaker flex options. But for the most part, his starting running backs, his starting wide receivers, his quarterback, his tight end, they all seem to be doing really good things on his team. So it's going to be a challenge for sure. I mean, but again, we're only 4 weeks in. That doesn't mean that things won't change. Obviously, things can and do change. We've still got another like 3/4 of the season to go. So we're only 1 quarter down. Like there's still another 3/4 of the season. So yeah.
And I'll just say to end that little to end my matchup, even if I had started my optimal lineup, would not have mattered. I would not have beaten Heartbeat. He had me handedly this week, so that's good.
All right, Andrew, go ahead.
Oh, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. Tom Brady and Jared Goff. I mean, I probably would start Goff, honestly. But
Over Tom Brady?
Tom Brady, yeah, because Tom Brady just ain't been playing that well, And
Well,
now he's going through a divorce. I mean, that boy ain't gonna be playing good at all for the rest of the year.
what?
Oh,
Is he going
did
through a
you not?
divorce?
What are
Did
you
y'all not
talking
see
about?
that?
Hold on 1 second.
No.
Hold the phone.
Oh,
Tom Brady.
breaking news for Scott and Nick. So the latest, greatest, besides Antonio Brown posting a picture of Tom Brady's wife and himself on the field celebrating, was both Tom Brady and Giselle have hired
Divorce
divorce
attorney.
attorneys. Yes, to start that whole process.
Snap!
You kidding me?
Holy crap. No,
No,
he's
no,
right. I mean, I'm looking at the news right now.
that hit today.
Where?
Yeah.
Okay, so where are you getting that news at?
I just Googled
Uh,
it. I said
So
Tom Brady and
MS,
divorce.
yeah, yeah. I normally get news on like the MSN.com, like the start page for Edge, the generic start page for Edge at work. So like
Oh my
it'll pop up
gosh.
first thing, and like I was like, that can't be real. That can't be right. And of course, you click on something, you're like, God, yeah, he is in the thick of it. Into the thick of it. You should play that.
Into the thick of it. Into the thick of it. Into the thick of it. Oh,
That's what happens when you
So
become too obsessed with something.
yeah, yeah. So my thoughts on playing Brady over Goff this week were that Goff was missing Amon-Ra, and he was
Mm-hmm.
missing
That's
Swift,
true.
and
That's true.
he was missing Chark.
Yep. Yep.
So he ended up blowing up, but he was missing all his weapons, and Brady was getting all of his weapons back.
Right.
Um,
He's
and
good.
it was a primetime game against the Chiefs, which to me said shootout.
Right.
So that's why I
Yeah, and,
started
that,
Yeah,
Brady.
and so
I'm not saying
even
anything.
though I
Like
put in here that like you should have started Jared Goff over Tom Brady, like we can like Chase
Yeah.
Edmonds over Dortch, that I don't understand. Like that one, I think you should have done, but the Jared Goff over Tom Brady, no way. I don't blame you. That's kind of one of the things is like just like with Heartbeat, like I wouldn't have started Corey Davis over Amari Cooper ever. Like that's not happening. And the same with Dobbins over Khalil Herbert. Even though these are the optimal matchups and the optimal lineup, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to make sense. All right, Andrew, take it away with the next matchup.
All right, better than Scott. What the 2.7 last week? Oh wow,
So
yeah, that is close. 2.4 this week is how much he left on the bench. You're saying he had 2.7 last week. That
yeah,
is super close.
he's
He
putting good lineups out.
should have started Jarvis Landry over Travis Etienne. Etienne, am I saying that right?
ETN.
ETN.
I'm horrible with names. Let's just go with that. I wouldn't have started that for sure. Scott, you'll realize this. Like, I just put names out there, what sounds good, and then Nick corrects me all the time. And it's just like, yeah, we'll just go with it.
Good.
Troop Farms, 9.1 points on the bench. Starting Jahan Dotson over Drake London. I have no qualms over those two names at all. I honestly wouldn't have any of those on my team, really. I probably would have started Drake London anyways.
Drake is legit, man.
Yeah,
Well,
but he doesn't have a good quarterback. That's the problem. I mean, that's the reason why I got so few points is because my quarterback did nothing.
But anyways, let me wrap mine up real quick. So better than Scott would have had 90.78 instead of the 88.38. Would not have beaten Shroot Farms no matter what, either way.
So good job,
Unless
Cody.
Shroot-
You got on the winning board. Good job. Finally.
Unless Shroot Farms had just bombed it.
So moving on to the next one. Biggest loser left 11.2 points on the bench. He should have started Kenneth Gainwell over Michael Pittman. Yeah, that's not happening. And Noah Brown over Chase Claypool. That one I think could have happened. Noah Brown over Chase Claypool, just because again, like it doesn't seem like Claypool is doing very well this season. Partially because of Trubisky, but even now with Kenny Pickett possibly taking over the starting position, it's still
Didn't
kind of like a
Brown
little
go
iffy.
down?
Noah Brown?
Yes. Yeah. Neck. He went out because
Noah
of his
Brown's
neck.
out?
No, he's not out. He went out because of his neck during that game.
Yeah, but Noah Brown would have been better than Chase Claypool.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like the amount of people that went out this last game, this last week. Like my phone was just going off every like 2 minutes. It seemed like.
The Marvel Universe, who ended up beating Biggest Loser, he left 13.5 points on the bench. He should have started George Pickens over Brandon Ayuk. Again, not happening. Tyler Higbee over Pat Freiermuth. Now, Tyler Higbee's been really something for the Rams. Like, him and Cooper Kupp seem to be the only two worthwhile on the Rams now. And he should have started Breece Hall over Raheem Mostert. Why he wasn't starting Breece Hall over Raheem Mostert, I think that's the only one that I would question. Ayuk over Pickens, that makes sense. Freiermuth and Higbee, that's neither here nor there. But like, I probably would have, like, Breece Hall seems to be getting more and more involved even over the past couple of weeks. He's been more and more involved in the offense, and so I think starting him, getting him over Raheem Mostert, because like Raheem Mostert and Chase Edmonds are the ones who are splitting carries. And so it's back and forth, as where like Breece Hall, yes, has Michael Carter, but Breece Hall is a really good talent. Even if Biggest Loser had put all of his team that he needed to, all of the points off the bench onto his actual team, he still wouldn't have been able to beat the Marvel Universe.
The Leprechauns versus London Silly Nannies. So the Leprechauns left 31.1 points on the bench. That is, I think, the highest amount in the league for this week.
Mm-hmm.
He should have started Rashad Penny over A.J. Dillon. He should have started Zach Ertz over Dallas Goedert. And he should have started Robert Woods over Deontay Johnson.
You know it's Goddard, right?
Did I say Goedert?
It sounds like it's Go-Gurt. Like, hey, give me that yogurt. That's to go.
He's
Go-Gurt.
cracking again, Andrew.
I'm telling you, he's on it.
Yeah, so there, I mean, like, I would have started A.J. Dillon as well. You would have never known that Penny would have exploded like he did. I like Ertz over Goddard, so I would have started Ertz, and then I would have started Deontay Johnson over Woods. So he made hindsight, it's 2020. He made the right call on a couple of those.
Right.
London Silly Nannies left just 10.3 points on the bench, and he just should have started DJ Moore over Melvin Gordon. And so had the Leprechauns put in their optimal lineup, they would have beaten London Silly Nannies. So this is the first matchup and I think the only matchup we have this week where that is the case, where the loser could have won had they played the right people.
Well, I'm going to wrap it up with mine real quick if y'all ain't got nothing else to add. So I played Let's Ride, who left 12.62 points on the bench. Darnell Mooney over James Robinson. Yeah, wouldn't have done that. I probably would have started Tyler Boyd over Terry McLaurin, but honestly, I've been trying to think that Carson Wentz has been throwing some good balls here lately.
I bet the reason why he didn't start Tyler Boyd over Terry McLaurin is because Tyler Boyd had the Thursday night game, and he didn't think to put in his lineup until Sunday.
Yeah, that might be it. I only left 8.82 points. Picked up Zach Wilson after I got the Jalen Hurts trade, and somehow he scored more than Jalen Hurts. That kind of hurt me a little bit.
Look, Jonathan Taylor only got me 2 points, so I don't even want to hear it, okay?
Hey, you know what? I told you I was sorry. I felt bad for you. Isaiah McKenzie over Jalen Waddle, never in a million years.
Nope.
Devin Duvernay over Curtis Samuel. I might have, but I just thought that Curtis Samuel was doing so good. And again, that was another pick.
Curtis Samuel has been solid. So
yeah, he has been. Devin's been, I think, 2 weeks he's had over 10, and everything else has just been 9 or right.
Well, and Devin Duvernay's on a much better offense than Curtis Samuel. Like that the Ravens' offense seems to be really legit, like just awesome. And so even that, but Curtis Samuel has been producing, and so it's not like he's out of the game or anything like that. So yeah.
No, absolutely not. But I mean, Duvernay's been slowly declined over the past 4 weeks. I mean, he blew it up the first week, and then Isaiah's been slowly increasing. So it is what it is. Let's see. Wrapping it up, I would have won no matter what. 101.5 over 88.88 is what Let's Ride would have got if he had started his best team. And then mine would have been 127.38. to over the 118.56 is what I got.
You mean they would have gotten 101.5 had they started their top lineup? I think you had it backwards. You said 88.
No, he had 88.88.
Yeah, and had he started his best lineup, he'd got 101.
Right.
Yeah, he still wouldn't have won regardless. Yeah.
Maybe if I started my worst lineup.
Yep. So I'll lead off with who surprised me since I put it in the doc.
Just keep it to one.
That's all I've got. That's all I specifically put in one person. So the person who surprised me in a good way was TJ Hawkinson, just how essential he seems to be with Amon-Ra St. Brown and DeAndre Swift and who was the other one that's out? There was another wide receiver that was out, right?
DJ Chark.
That's right.
Chark,
so with how much he was needed at that point. I mean, 35.9 points. I mean, heartbeat. I don't even know. I don't think he's going to do it again. I don't think he's that good. But just this week just seemed to be like, I think it'll be another 4 weeks before he has something as explosive as this. But with 12 targets, 8 receptions, 179 yards, 2 touchdowns, he was just on fire. But that whole game was just ridiculous.
Like if I'm heartbeat, I'm trying to trade Scott for tight end for a running back or a wide receiver right now because Scott needs one.
Trying to trade me Hawkinson for like one of my running backs. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. If he needed,
Hawkinson and some others. He's not. I wouldn't say trading you just Hawkinson will get you.
Well,
one of the running backs.
It depends on the level. Of course, it depends on what he's going for. I'm not saying he needs a running back, but if he was trying to get rid of him,
I mean, and like this would be the time to actually cash in on TJ Hawkinson for sure. If he wanted to like shore up his flex positions and stuff like that, like give TJ Hawkinson for like 2 up and coming wide receivers or running backs or something along those lines.
I'm gonna have to say I was upset that Jared Goff got so many points. like
because you got him in another league.
No, I've been streaming him and Carson Wentz in another league. Yeah, absolutely. And I went with Carson Wentz, dropped Jared Goff this week. I started Goff, and then I got rid of him. I was like, man, how did he play so good? As far as my team, though, I was very happy with my Jalen Hurts pickup,
Well, yeah, of course. You're going to be, let's just say this, you're going to be very happy that you got him. I'm hoping that I will be happy with Jonathan Taylor at some point in time. I'm hoping next week.
I'll trade you Zach Wilson for Christian McCaffrey.
You sound like Scott.
Nick, think about it. Nick, you need a QB. Think about it.
Yeah. I need a QB. Or I'll just pick one off of the waiver wires that does better.
No, Zach Wilson's outscored Jalen Hurts every game he's played.
All right, Scott, how about you? What's one of the guys who surprised you this week in a good way?
Okay. Yeah, so this guy just he went off this past week, and he has had a much better year than anybody really anticipated. That is QB for the Seattle Seahawks, Geno Smith. So he is surprising to me in a good way. He scored 31.7 points in our league this past week. He had 320 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks, and then he also rushed 7 times for 49 yards and another touchdown. So everyone was just ho-hum on the Seahawks coming into the year because you lost Russ, and Geno has actually performed better than Russ thus far this year. So really a surprise there in a good way. Can Geno keep it up? I don't know. He may come back down to earth some, but thus far he's done really well.
I mean, I think next week, I think they've got New Orleans, who seem to have a pretty decent defense. He could be. I'm not necessarily looking to stream him since I am the one who seems to be streaming now, who needs to be streaming big time. But I'm definitely not looking. I mean, he is enticing. Don't get me wrong.
Definitely, I wouldn't call him like an every week starter for sure. He's probably like a matchup streamer kind of quarterback.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So next week against Arizona, like when he plays Arizona in week 6, and the Chargers in week 7, and the Giants in week 8, and then the Arizona Cardinals again in week 9. Like those seem to be like prime times probably when he would be worth the stream. But this week,
I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I would say his next 2 games, maybe even 3 games, he might be a good start.
I don't think he's going to be a good start against New
Francisco
Orleans.
What do they have? That
New
great
Orleans
defense,
is a
though?
tough D, so I wouldn't.
Do they?
I would hesitate. Yeah,
They've got
to
a
start
good
him against
defense.
the Saints.
Yeah, I haven't really been paying attention to the Saints that much.
Yeah, he was definitely surprising this week.
Then you got Arizona and the Chargers and the Giants after that, and you're like, oof.
Yeah. Those I think will be good matchups. Yeah. Those I think will be good things to kind of play out. Plus, I don't know. I mean, I guess you could play the game where, like with New Orleans, he may be trying to keep up with points, but is he really going to be able to keep up with points? That's the question. Because like Detroit had a terrible defense, and so it was easy for him to keep up with the points.
Right.
All right, so guys, I'm worried about. So I am concerned about Alvin Kamara. I know he's only started 2 games and he's been out for 2 games, but his average is 6.2 points per game, and so like I would be concerned about him. I know I was wanting to trade for him, and I did trade for him in a different league, and I'm concerned about him now. I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I want to. I mean, like it is Alvin Kamara, and he is very talented, but I don't know if he's lost a step. I don't know if he's not a part of the offense as much as he should be, especially with Jameis. Jameis is known to, instead of doing like checkdowns, which would be beneficial for Kamara, instead of checkdowns, he's known to like try and like launch that ball as far as he possibly can, which is great for Michael Thomas and Chris Olave, but it is terrible for Alvin Kamara. So that's kind of a concern that I've got. Andrew, who are you worried about?
I mean, honestly, for this league and my own personal selfish reasons, I am worried about my running back, Cordero. Like I didn't know.
Well, I mean, he is going
injured
to take
and
a step
then-
back. I mean, he's out for 4
Well,
weeks.
that's what I'm
guaranteed.
saying. Like I didn't know, Scott. I don't know if you knew this, but I didn't know till yesterday morning or like halfway through yesterday. It's like Cordero Patterson put on IR for knee surgery. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah, I just saw that today, actually.
Yeah, and then now it looks like it's going to be a committee, the whole back team. So it's like, do I try and get someone? I mean, I'm going to try for it. I'm just going to be honest and up front. I'm going to try for it, but it's like, you know, do I try for that or do I try and get someone else where all these other teams are down too, you know? I mean, what is it? We got 3 teams that lost their starting running backs, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Denver,
I think Javante
Atlanta.
went down. Jonathan Taylor might not play for Indy this week,
That's
and
true.
they really don't know what's going on. And then, so you got the Falcons with Cordero, Denver, and Indy all kind of scraping by on running backs right now.
Yep. Which, as Titans fans, we're cool with the whole Indy thing, but as a Jonathan Taylor owner, I'm not. So
Yeah.
it's kind of that kind of mix in between. So Scott, how about you? Who's the guy that you're worried about?
All right, so I've got a couple of different ways I could go here, but I'm going to talk about one guy specifically on my team, and it may be totally fine. I don't know. This is just some lingering doubts, questions that I have in my head. That's DeAndre Swift.
Mm-hmm.
He is a top-tier running back, as we know, when he's healthy and going. He is currently injured. He's projected to be out week 5. They've got a bye in week 6. Current projections are he's going to come back in week 7. So the injury concerns kind of scare me. Is he going to stay healthy for the rest of the year? Is he going to go down again? He's starting to become this kind of player that's a little injury prone. So how healthy is he going to be the rest of the year? Also, another concern for me is Jamal Williams. Since this past week, Jamal Williams, I think off the top of my head, 19 carries for 108 yards, a touchdown or 2 for Detroit, and it just seems like he's eating into the workload a little bit on Swift. He's becoming more of like your early down pounder running back, and Swift is more of change of pace, get a few carries, get a few targets, you know. So if Swift does come back and regain his health, has Jamal Williams done so good that Swift doesn't get as many targets, you know. I don't know. I'm waiting to see what happens there, but you know, if Swift comes back and Jamal has taken a chunk of the targets and or the touches, then it's going to be bad for my fantasy team, you know.
Yeah.
I do want to throw another one out there just real quick.
Go ahead.
You know, kind of like what he was just saying about, you know, Williams and Swift and how much it's going to take. Like that kind of team, yeah, I can honestly see that happening. You know, that's a legit worry. But here's what I was thinking too, is like what I want to throw out there. How about the fact that more than likely in a couple weeks, Cooper Rush is probably going to be replaced by Dak Prescott again, which is crazy to me. You know what I mean? Like I think Jerry Jones was saying that about the Cowboys, how like, oh, Dak's still going to start for us. What? Like play the hot hand. Like, what are you doing? Like you know.
I mean, it's
like,
I mean, the biggest thing is because they invested the money in Dak. But yeah, Cooper Rush does seem to be doing really well, like for what he's accomplished over the past couple of weeks. So, as far as DeAndre Swift, I don't think it's going to be like a complete like, oh, okay, well, we're getting away from Swift, who is our premier talent, who's a phenomenal player, and we're only going to go to Williams because he's doing really well. He's doing really well because they were against like pretty crappy defenses. Like, here's the thing: if you're that worried about it, like especially in our league, I would look to trade him, but don't trade him for like just measly stuff, but trade him for like a couple of good options, at wide receiver, which is
Rashad
where
Bateman.
you're needing. You need to have more than just one, bro.
You know, Nick, who I really wanted to trade him for was Mariota, and then when I saw you drop him, I said, "Good, I don't have to trade. I don't have to trade Swift for Mariota anymore.
Yeah,
now
go
I can
ahead.
just pick him up off waivers.
You could just drop.
I just want
drop
you
Swift and go get
I just
Mariota.
want you. Yeah, I want you to know that you could have had Swift had you just held on to Mariota.
Oh, is that right? Oh, yeah. That's a great point. Yeah, I totally would have done that. Oh, darn.
No, yeah, I'm totally, obviously joking, but yeah.
All right, so
I'm open to trades for Swift. But anyways, keep going.
So possible trades. These are just guys that I'm looking at, and it oddly enough, it's funny because like these are actually guys that I'm looking at, and it's the four teams that are at the bottom of our league, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize that. Oh, interesting. But what I would say, so like Saquon Barkley, I'm looking to possibly trade for him. I'd love to get him. Joe Mixon also, just because I know, just mainly because to me DeAndre Swift is kind of one of those like you got to sit and hold for a couple of weeks. Like what are you going to do in those couple of weeks? But like with Joe Mixon, like even that to an extent, it might be good. You could see what you could fish for DeAndre Swift or for Mixon, and see like who can like what good players you can get out of different teams. If you're in the bottom part, like even me to an extent right now, next week if my team doesn't do anything like this week, if it's like Jonathan Taylor is terrible and Mark Andrews doesn't come back, doesn't have a bounce back, Gabe Davis is off and all of these things, if that happens, like I am looking to shop Christian McCaffrey for two good like players, like either a good wide receiver and a good running back, or two really good wide receivers and just kind of like sitting on Jonathan Taylor for a time. Or I may even trade Jonathan Taylor for less better wide receivers kind of thing. And so, I also have Keenan Allen and Chris Olave. I think Keenan Allen, when he comes back, I think he'll be great. And I think Biggest Loser needs RBs. So being willing to trade a decent RB for Keenan Allen.
Yeah, so I see you've got Mixon on the list here as a possible trade. And, obviously with my team, if you look at my team, depth is an issue for me. I'm not very deep. Obviously, I'm 0-4. I'm one of the lowest scoring teams in the league. So I am absolutely, open to trades and open to looking at any trade, really. For Mixon would probably be one of my most valuable assets currently. So because he's not injured, Swift might be if Swift was healthy. Yeah. But for Mixon, I would look at a 2-for-1 deal where I'm trading away Mixon and getting two lesser commodities. Mixon is an RB1, so I would look at and consider trades for maybe an RB2 and a wide receiver to package together for him. Something like that, or a solid tight end, or packaged with a wide receiver or a running back, something like that.
Well, you might chase like I would almost chase like DeAndre Hopkins or something like that. I don't know that he's going to play for another 2 weeks, but it's almost like that's going to be there down the road, especially if Swift falls.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, I probably wouldn't. Hopkins is not someone that I would, particularly be interested in right now, just because it's going to be a while before he plays again. He's still suspended.
Well, no,
But
it's like you said.
Let's
You make a
let's
2
say
for 1 deal.
let's see. What about like a J.K. Dobbins and maybe like a Amari Cooper?
Nobody's giving you
somebody
J.K.
from
Dobbins
like those
and
two from
Amari
Heartbeat.
Cooper.
Yeah.
I would Dobbins I would look at, but I'm not really interested in Amari Cooper just because of the offense that he's in and the quarterback he has throwing to him.
Okay.
He's somebody. Cooper is somebody that I would jump on on waivers, and I actually did try to get him when he was dropped earlier this year. But as far as trading a Joe Mixon for him, I would not do that.
What I'm saying is like I'm trying to gauge your level. Like
Oh.
So if we're looking at then maybe like J.K. Dobbins and a Chris Godwin.
Yeah. That's better. I'm not sure that I would do that per se. It sounds like you're looking at. Let me take a look here. It sounds like you're looking at Heartbeat specifically.
I'm looking at Heartbeat right now just because he's 4-0 and like
Yeah.
he could potentially make these things. I could even look at. So what about let's say
He has the resources.
Yeah, he has the resources and he has the wins to be able to kind of like play with that. But let's say a Breece Hall, what looks like a growing Breece Hall and let me see if I can get a decent wide receiver. What if it's let's go with this. Let's say a I'm gonna go with a dinky one. Let's say a David Montgomery and a Stephon Diggs. Would you be willing to trade Joe Mixon for them?
I would need to look at Montgomery and his health prognosis because I know he was out last week.
That's right.
I would need to know. Yeah, so a healthy David Montgomery and a healthy Stephon Diggs for Mixon, I would look at that, and I may pull the trigger on something like that. Yeah, but Montgomery is he's hurt. I don't know what his prognosis is, so I would look into that.
So
let's go. What if it were like a see, does he have any decent wide receivers? Let me see if he's got a decent wide receiver out here. Let's say what seems to be let's say Jamal Williams as kind of a buffer for DeAndre Swift until he comes back, and maybe even a Breece Hall. Let's say those two, Breece Hall and Jamal Williams. So that would give
those two together, packaged together.
Yeah.
So let me answer it like this. I would be for doing a package like that where it's maybe 2 RB2s together for Mixon, but I would not do Jamal Williams because I don't want both heads of the Lions backfield. I wouldn't want to be starting both of them per se.
I got you.
They've had a pretty good, week 1 and week 3 together. They were killing it. Week 2, there was pretty good stuff together. One of them jumped.
But I know I'm looking at LaMarvel right now, Jacob, and I know he is he's deep at running back. So, I mean, if he was to package like a healthy David Montgomery along with Damian Pierce from Houston, like that may do it. Like I may give away Mixon for that. Or if he wanted to do, if he wanted to package Diggs along with one of those 2 running backs as well, that might do it. Or Amon-Ra with one of those running backs, something like that.
Well, Amon-Ra, I guarantee. So for Amon-Ra and Stephon Diggs, like you would probably get like an unhealthy David Montgomery for those two, because those two seem to be the premier wide receivers, like number ones. Like
I don't follow you.
So if it's Amon-Ra, he's probably going to give you an unhealthy David Montgomery, not a healthy one. You know what I mean? Or he might do like an Amon-Ra and a Breece Hall. Like that might be more something up his alley. Like just because of the fact that. But even for you, like I wouldn't necessarily, if you're wanting to hold on to Swift, I would say hold on to Swift and maybe not get Amon-Ra because I don't know how. I mean, it looks like Detroit seems to be a pretty good offense to be able to, get all of those guys to have some kind of play. So maybe you could do Amon-Ra and DeAndre Swift and have a really solid Detroit offense, which is like what in the world? Like, at the beginning of the season, you would never be like, oh yeah, that sounds great. So Andrew lost his number one running back. Let's see if Andrew could offer you something. What if he were to give you, say, like James Conner and maybe like a Mike Evans for your Joe
Let
Mixon?
me go to his team here.
We've
All right, hang
had
on.
this
So, who is his
discussion.
number one running back he lost?
Cordell Patterson.
Cordarrelle. Okay. So you said, what if he gave
Jonathan
me
Taylor.
Connor and Evans? That's yeah. I mean, that's something that I would look at. That's something that I would consider for sure. Connor has not done good these past few weeks. I would study it and consider it. I definitely would.
I mean, the biggest thing we're
Connor,
looking at is
yeah.
the Mike Evans, like getting a decent wide receiver in there. But are you needing wide receiver? Did I put that? Yeah, you need wide receiver help.
Me? Yeah.
That's the biggest thing that you're looking
Wide
for.
receiver is probably my biggest need, to be honest with you, because I've got Sutton and then I've got Brandon Cooks, and those are probably my only two like solid good wideouts. Behind those two guys, I had like Greg Dortch and Zay Jones. Just these little waiver wire guys.
So let's go. What if he gave you like Mike Evans and like a Isaiah McKenzie? If McKenzie's healthy.
Yeah, I'm not too interested in McKenzie. He's kind of up and down. Hasn't had the best year. He's the third wide receiver in Buffalo, so not really
I'm not gonna lie.
too big on him.
I'm not into McKenzie.
What's
either.
that?
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not really into McKenzie either.
Okay,
Yeah, he's strictly a
Mike
bye
Evans
week
and Curtis
play.
Samuel.
I probably that's better than McKenzie,
Jump
but
all
I
over
probably
that.
would not.
No.
I would not. I say it's better than McKenzie, but I don't think I would accept it because I would not want double wideouts in the return. I would want like like I said earlier, I would want like a
Second
wide
RB
receiver
in
2
there.
running back 2. Yeah,
So like a
wouldn't
number
want
2
double
RB and
wideouts.
a number 2 wide receiver would probably be someone who's consistently in the 13-24 range of wide receiver and possibly 13 with high upside for a running back, right?
Yeah, something like that. Like RB2, wide receiver 2s together for Mixon would do it. Mixon is consistently ranked in like the top 10 of RBs, so he's a pretty solid RB1. Yeah.
What about Joe Mixon, Cooper Kupp straight up?
Joe Mixon for Cooper Kupp. I would I think that I would have to do that because it's Cooper Kupp and he's like the wide receiver 1. Does he ever have a bad week? I mean, like he is like the preeminent receiver in fantasy right now. So I feel like I would have to do that. But then after the deal, it would be like, okay, my running backs just took a massive hit. Like, what can I do to build my running backs back up? You know what I mean?
Yeah. But also, I mean, like you got Cortland Sutton, who isn't really panning out. Brandon Cooks finally had a decent game last week. And so,
yeah,
and then you've got Greg Dortch and Josh Reynolds. It's like having the solidity of Cooper Kupp. And the thing is like you have Jeff Wilson. You could throw in Chase Edmonds there as like a until Swift gets back kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just throwing out these ideas.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to get a feel for it and stuff like that. Like Schrute Farms needs to be willing to give up Saquon Barkley or Kareem Hunt for like better flex positions, like better flex guys. He's got to be willing to kind of give up those guys. Biggest loser has to be willing to kind of like part ways. Maybe getting rid of like DK Metcalf for DK Metcalf and maybe Darrell Henderson for a decent RB for him. And then better than Scott. I don't know how many times I got to tell you this, but you got to get rid of New Orleans people. Okay, you've got too many of them on your team. Okay, you shouldn't have Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry and Chris Olave because it's just asinine to do that. Don't do like get rid of somebody.
Yeah.
Like trade somebody. Trade Chris Olave and get a decent RB.
The trade I would offer Scott right now that I'm thinking he might think about would be Chase Edmonds for McKenzie. just for the fact that they are pretty much even across the board in the sense of points, total points.
Yeah.
I know Scott, he'll probably be like, I'm going to have somebody else give it to me too. Just because Scott just does that every time. It's
like I need Isaiah McKenzie and Rashad Bateman in order to get Chase Edmonds.
yes, that would be him. I mean, he might take Duvernay or something like that.
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
that would be Scott for sure. Absolutely.
I mean, it's one of
Absolutely.
those things that
You
like.
remember?
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
You were trying to get Chase or Bateman and somebody else, I thought.
No, Chase Edmonds for. I was trying to trade you Edmonds for Curtis Samuel straight up last week.
Curtis
Yeah, and you didn't want to do it. You were like, no. But I think there's been, man, me and you we've thrown back so many trades back and forth this
for
year.
years. You know how many times I will not trade you just because of Josh Allen? I want you to understand that. I will not give you a trade without haggling you because of Josh Allen. I was so like, yeah, you can have him, take him. God, it's like, oh my God, I died. I will say this. I feel like, and I know Nick probably felt the same way. Like this trade that I made with him with Jonathan Taylor, like I actually feel good about that trade now. Like Jonathan Taylor out with a toe injury. I won this game. I'm like, man, I might have done something all right this time with a trade, but like just because of you, Scott, I want you to know I do not make trades hardly ever.
Man, years later, and I'm still paying for it.
It hurt me so much.
I mean, no, yeah, I could definitely see how that would make you more aware or like more careful.
Sure.
So
there was one league. I was in this league one time at work, and I traded Julio Jones for the person's first round draft pick. Right, just traded him away. Like I didn't even use him. Right.
Hey boys, I'll be right back. Go ahead, keep talking.
I absolutely just demolished everybody in that league, and then the next year they're like, "We're not honoring this request for you to get that trade." I was like, "What?" They're like, "Yeah, you won it, so we're not honoring it." So I just went,
what?
Yeah, I was just so mad. I was like, "Y'all are a bunch of wusses and cowards and all that sort of stuff," and it just tore me up. But yeah, I was like, man, I mean, I won it that year, but everybody's like, "You're crazy for trading him away." I was like, "Am I though?" Like I just felt and that was kind of like the thing with Nick too. It was like Jalen Hurts. I didn't care about Samuel really, but Jalen Hurts, I wanted him so much, and Taylor saw I had 2 games he sucked. The first game he was good, and it's that whole feeling. It's like you have to start him. You have to. You can't.
Yeah.
So it's just get rid of him, and then I'll just start Jalen Hurts. I have to have a quarterback.
Yeah. So are you saying they vetoed your trade for Julio Jones back in the day?
So they upheld the trade.
Yeah.
I won the league. The next year when it came draft time, they're all like, we're not gonna let you draft 2 first round picks. Because I would have gotten 12th, and I would have gotten, I think that guy I traded with was 9th.
Okay.
So it was we're not honoring it. I think because I won that year, they didn't want to honor it and give me 2 number 1 draft picks. And so I was like, they are a bunch of cowards and all this other stuff. And the commissioner at that time, who was over that league, he hated being called a coward. And I kind of knew that in the back of my mind. I did not know that. So I'm like, y'all are a bunch of cowards and, throwing out some choice words. And I didn't get to play for that league the next game. So, but I did on the trophy put the Andrew Burkett on it. So hopefully that's still going strong. But yeah, no, that's what I was telling Nick. I was like, I was kind of asking. I was like, would you give me your first round draft pick next year? He's like, ooh. I mean, it's a hard one to give up. I'll give him.
Well, yeah. So actually, I kind of want to get into that. So let's have some questions for the commissioner. I didn't get any questions from anybody, so Andrew, it's just you and me.
No.
Oh yeah. Nobody sent me anything, but that's okay because we'll see if they end up coming back later on and stuff. Question number one. Now you and I have talked personally about this on text messages and stuff, but you said you don't want to do a dynasty league. Why not?
I'm not against doing a dynasty league. So I don't want to give that impression. The thing is though, if I did a dynasty league, I would probably want it to be in addition to this league because I've talked to at least one other guy in the league, and he's against dynasty leagues. So it's one of those things where whenever I make a change to the league, like I'm not looking to like blow it up. You know what I mean? I'm not looking to make this massive change that's just going to drive half the league away, and then you're left with like you need to fill all these other teams because no one likes the change you made. That's why I'm big on doing votes. If I make a lot of changes during the off season, that way people are on the same page and the majority rules and things like that. So if we went to dynasty, then I would just want to have, I would just want to make sure that's what people wanted, kind of thing.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Andrew, you got a question for him?
I mean, I'll just ask you this:
For sure.
Is this the only league you have, or do you actually do your own league somewhere else too? Like,
No, this is the.
But I'm saying, like, do you play in any other leagues?
Yeah, no, I do not. This is my only league, and a lot of that is on purpose because I only want to keep up with one league, and I don't want to have to me, it would kind of be, I don't know if you'd call it a headache, but I would feel like my emotions were being pulled in multiple directions if I had well, in this league, I've got this guy, so I need to pull for him. But then in this other league, I've got this other guy, so I need to pull for him. And then, and sometimes I would have a guy that he's playing for me in one league and against me in another league. So it's like, well, what in the world do I do there? So it's and plus it would just be more to keep up with and things. So
I do have one suggestion, and I know you just started doing like the prize money or something like that, but maybe instead of like everybody like buying in like $20 or $30, everybody just put in. There's one that we did with this league at work this year. It's like whoever gets the highest points just gets $1 or gets a payout for that week. Yeah, someone can win all the money, or everybody gets a little chunk every week. So
for sure. So yeah, that's I've heard of other people doing that thing before where it's like weekly payouts. So that's something that I haven't really ever considered too heavily for our league. But you mentioned a second ago about instead of having like a $20 or $30 buy-in for a league, that we don't have a buy-in, right?
No. I know that. I'm just saying, like, you don't have to pay them out every single week or anything like that, or it could just be
okay.
$1. No. It's usually like at the end of the season, you would just kick out the money that's there. That's how it usually worked out. But no, I'm not saying you charge anything. I'm just saying like just ideas down the road, just so like it's not just all up to one. I'm not gonna lie, that whole rule where the last place person doesn't get first pick anymore, that kind of hurt me a little bit. I was like,
is it because you're afraid you're going to get last? Is that what it is?
I always get pretty close to last. I think the best I've gotten was fourth in this league. Isn't that right, Nick? Fourth place.
What happened?
I think the best I've gotten was
he's ever gotten was like fourth.
Yeah. I think you're right. You're right. Yeah.
It hurts. It hurts a lot.
Yeah.
I guess kind of like to bounce off of that. What have you thought about possibly making like charging? Not necessarily saying obviously like putting it up for a vote, but also expressing to the league and saying, hey guys, look, it's going to be like a $5 buy-in.
A few years ago, I did consider doing a buy-in where maybe people just threw in like $10 in order to join the league. But what came out of that was I talked to a couple of the guys in the league, and I got some mixed reviews on whether or not they would want to actually do a buy-in. So what I came up with instead that was actually the time that I instituted what we have now, which is no buy-in, but you actually get a reward of a gift card if you come in a certain place. Like I think I pay out first and second place with a gift card. So,
Right.
So in order to not like, I wanted it to be like, okay, like I don't want to make people pay if they don't want to play, but I still want to motivate people to try and do good during the season. So in order to achieve both of those things, I came up with the whole, okay, well then, I'll just provide, as the commissioner, I'll just provide a prize, right? I'll just do gift cards to the winners. That way you still have something you're playing for, but you don't have to spend any of your money for those that don't want to, right?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I like free money, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know. That might be something like to possibly run in front of the league again. Like just maybe after a few years, they're like, you know what? It might be more because like there's, especially if you sit there and say, hey, I'm going to charge you, and then at the end somebody gets it. But if you're like, oh, each week you're actually competing for a certain amount. Like if you get the highest points, you get $2, right? And so if you do that 5 weeks, then you get your $10 back, right, or something like that.
Right.
Like to kind of like express that to them, because like I like that idea, because then like even if you're like just a terrible team,
Last
or
place.
you're or well maybe not last place, because last place generally not going to get the highest, but at some point in time, like let's say you come in all of a sudden and you end up scoring 189 points just because somebody blew up, and then you get $2. You're like, yeah, okay, cool. That was something fun throughout it. And so two things happen from that. Number one, like there's incentive to put in your best lineup every week, to see who can get the highest, and then also obviously the incentive of like getting paid out at the end of the week. It's and then even like you are at the end of the year, you can have like first place gets this much, second place gets this much, and then third place gets their next year's like pay in, right? Like next year's like something along those lines, just possibly. And so yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here and listening to the podcast. Obviously I'm gonna have to cut this up. We appreciate you listening. If you are on YouTube, click the subscribe button, click the like button. That way it helps the algorithm. If you want to, you can click the bell. That way you get notified when we post again. If you're listening on your favorite podcasting app, click the subscribe. Leave us a review. Only 5 stars, because we're not interested in anything less than that. Let us know if you think that we should be paying for the league, and if we like should do payouts and stuff like that. Let us know if you have a league that does that. Anybody in our league, leave us a comment below. Let us know what you think about paying and getting payouts every week, or getting payouts at the end. We'd be curious to hear what you have to say. Leave a question if you want to ask the commissioner something, because the next time we have him on will be sometime, I'm sure, just whenever I have free time at this particular time. I'm Nick.
Oh, man.
And that's Scott. Scott, say I'm Scott.
I am Scott.
And as always,
you have an open invitation to our conversation. I was going to say, like, I am Scott.
I was like, what do we say? All right. Bye-bye.